Hey guys, Trainer DC here, coming at you with another video. According to multiple insiders, Pokemon Winds and Waves will not be getting another trailer this year, and we won't have news on Generation 10 of Pokemon until some point next year in 2027. This is coming from a few different sources, as I mentioned before. We have a tweet from Centro saying, according to the leaker who predicted the starters for Winds and Waves, we're not getting news on the game until 2027. And then we have an entire thread from Ball Guy with a fan asking, are we getting any Gen 10 info before the end of the year? Ball Guy responds saying, I am not anticipating any information to be revealed for the remainder of the year at this time. Then someone else says to him, didn't you imply in one tweet that we could have a Zoroark Togepi style reveal in the anime? That's technically new info, right? What makes you so sure that we won't get new info this year? And he says this tweet strictly refers to a presents or press release with new game information. Then someone else says, I don't just want to immediately believe we won't have any new info this year. We have in-game footage, unlike ZA's initial reveal. Why wouldn't we have new information this year? And Ball Guy responds saying, I've seen some complaints stating I'm speaking with uncertainty on this topic, or I'm guessing. If this were the case, I wouldn't have said something to begin with. These are the plans for now, unrelated to Horizons. Apparently, Pokemon Winds and Waves, according to multiple different insiders and leakers within the community, will not be getting any new information this year, which I find just rather hard to believe and head scratching at the same time. Here's the thing where I stand on all of this. Number one, Pokemon Winds and Waves was obviously revealed on Pokemon Day this year with a 2027 release window, which shocked everybody, right? When this initially happened, I immediately went to myself and said, oh no, this is going to be another Legend ZA situation. We're going to have to wait until the fall of 2027 for this game. That's going to be insane. How could they do this to us again? But multiple people within the community, multiple different insiders had stated that no, that's not the case. This game's probably coming in the first half of the year. My friend Dom on the live stream made the point of, well, they showed gameplay footage for this game just like this commenter made with Ball Guy. That means that this game is farther ahead in development. It's closer to release than ZA was at the time of its initial announcement. But apparently, according to Ball Guy, that's not the case. Apparently, this game isn't going to come out until the second half of next year because we're not getting any more news for it this year. Central Leaks has a tweet out there saying our current expectation is a second half 2027 release for Pokemon Winds and Waves, which I'm going to say real quick with regarding Central Leaks. I know they get a lot of flack online, but they were also the people posting that we're expecting a first half release for this game 2 months ago. So I'm not going to put too much credence into that. But given the fact that we're apparently not getting a new trailer this year would indicate that this game is not coming until the latter parts of next year, unless if it's coming in like June or July, and we're going to get a reveal for it in January, February, March, April, and so on, monthly or maybe every week we'll get a reveal or something of the sorts to build up the hype for that game. But regardless of that, regardless of when this game ends up coming out, I've got to question Pokemon's marketing team here. I mean, I have been rather critical over the past half decade plus. Since Sword and Shield's marketing, I've been rather critical with Pokemon and the way they've handled the marketing for their games. They just don't release trailers in the same frequency that they used to, and we have these long droughts of no information. And not only that, but quite frankly, the information they give us is not really all that interesting. It's like they serve it up to us on a platter, like, here's a new Pokemon, here's a new character, here's another new Pokemon, here's another new character, here's the gimmick, and that's really it. They don't really build up to things anymore or tease things. Like, yes, we'll get the trailers for Mega Victory Bell where we have this like, oh, who's this Pokemon that's gonna get revealed to us? And then the next day they tell you the answer. But what they used to do back in the day is they actually used to, market the games in that they'll give us a teaser and then we won't hear anything about that teaser for another couple weeks or a month until the next reveal, and then we would get revealed to us what that teaser was. I always go back to the X and Y days with Sylveon and Mega Mewtwo Y. Sylveon was teased to us as this brand new evolution. They gave us a question mark for the typing, and then it turned out to be a brand new typing in the fairy typing. Then for Mega Mewtwo Y, they said, oh, this Pokemon has some resemblance to Mewtwo. What could its connection be? Everyone thought that it was Mew 3, but no, it's this brand new form of evolution called Mega Evolution that's being introduced in Pokemon X and and Y. That is fun. That is a fun way to market your game because not only does it create anticipation within the community, but it gives people something to speculate and talk about, which in turn helps to market your game even further because the more people talking about it, the more people making videos like me to discuss it, makes more people learn about your new titles, which in turn gets more people's foot into the door to buy your new titles. That's how my friend Dom got into Pokemon. I wouldn't shut up about Pokemon X and Y back in the day, and he was like, what's this Pokemon thing about? And he bought it, and now he's in love with the franchise. So my point being here is I don't understand what they're thinking. I don't understand what they're doing. I mean, why would you reveal, in the case of ZA, let's not even talk about Winds and Waves. Let's do a little timeline here. Why would you reveal ZA to then not talk about it for an entire year, to then have a second reveal for it on Pokemon Day 2025, to then go 5 months not talking about it once again to show us Mega Dragonite in a random July presentation, to then go quiet again, having these weekly trailers for like 3 weeks, to then go quiet again before the game comes out? Like, that marketing cycle makes absolutely no sense. It just doesn't. And I would say, in a way, that's reflected in the sales of Pokemon Legends ZA. Pokemon Legends ZA is selling worse than other Pokemon titles have in the same period of time. Pokemon Legends ZA has sold a total of 12.3 million copies, which is fantastic for a video game, right? But when you compare that to something like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it sold 34.2 million units, including the DLC. If you compare that to something like Pokemon Sword and Shield, it sold 27 million units. If you compare that to Pokemon Legends Arceus, it sold 15 million units. If you want to compare that to Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it sold 15 million units. My point being here is Pokemon Legends ZA sold significantly worse than I would have expected it to sell, given the fact that it's coming out on a brand new platform in the Nintendo Switch 2, and given that it's also available on the old platform in the Nintendo Switch. It didn't sell all that well. On the Nintendo Switch, it sold 8.4 million units, and on the Switch 2, it sold 3.9 million units sold. Again, totaling to 12.3. So in totality, this game is underselling at least what I would have expected it to sell, and in turn, I think part of that is because of the marketing for this game. It was non-existent. And I just don't understand what Pokemon is doing here regarding their marketing cycle, because look, again, Pokemon Legends ZA sold well. Pokemon in general always sells well. But if you actually marketed your games properly, could you see another 5 to 10 million units sold per title? That's something that could feasibly happen with Pokemon because it's that big. If you look back to the marketing for X and Y, right? The marketing for Sun and Moon. I know people are critical of the marketing for Sun and Moon because they revealed everything before the game came out, but I would argue that's better than what they're doing now, because what they're doing now is just not giving us enough information about these titles prior to release. Pokemon Sword and Shield was the beginning of the downfall of Game Freak's marketing, if you ask me. Like, we were getting these monthly reveals for Sword and Shield, and quite frankly, I thought that the information we were getting per month was a little lackluster. Like, I was hoping for a bit more leading up to release, but at least they kept to a monthly schedule when it comes to these announcements. With Pokemon Legends Arceus, that's really when it went down the tubes. Pokemon Legends Arceus's marketing cycle was non-existent. The only reason Pokemon Legends Arceus was on the radar prior to release was because of the leak community. Riddler Coup is the only reason people talked about that game leading up to release. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's marketing cycle was also pretty terrible. And don't even get me started on Legends ZA. We went over that a little bit earlier in the video, but I just don't understand feasibly if you are launching Generation 10 of Pokemon on the Nintendo Switch 2. Generation 10 of Pokemon could be, quite frankly, the best-selling generation this franchise has ever had. And I don't think I'm going out on much of a limb saying that. The game looks absolutely fantastic. The best-selling Pokemon game ever was Red, Green, and Blue, which had 31.3 million units sold. I think, quite frankly, this game could beat that very easily, because if you look at the sales for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet on the Nintendo Switch, it sold 28 million units plus the 6.1 million units of the DLC. I think it could very easily beat that because this game looks so much better than Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield, but you're gonna have to market it to show people why this game looks better. And if you're really going to come up here and not show anything else for the remainder of this year, I'm sorry, but you guys just don't know what you're doing. And this is a grander discussion that we should have regarding Nintendo, and I will touch on this very briefly. But in general, Nintendo's marketing has been terrible over recent years. I feel like ever since this decade started, Nintendo really just doesn't know what they're doing in terms of marketing their new titles. If we look at what's happening right now with Nintendo, and I was just debating this with a friend, Nintendo just came out with the Nintendo Switch 2. We are currently in April of 2026. There has not been a single direct this year, a single major major title released for the Nintendo Switch too, which makes no sense because this is a brand new platform. Don't you want to market and push that platform? Yes, they have had some Twitter announcements for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. Yes, there's rumors that we're getting a Star Fox game announced this year. Yes, the day I'm recording this, they gave us a release date for Splatoon Raiders. But my point is, what's coming out at the end of this year for holiday? What is coming out for the Nintendo Switch 2? I feel like Nintendo just really doesn't know what they're doing anymore in terms of their marketing department. To be honest with you, to me, it feels like they've gotten cocky. I think that they view the Nintendo Switch as this uber success, so we can do whatever we want and people will buy our platform. And that is a very dangerous line of thinking to have. And I think the Pokemon Company is suffering from that same thought process. They're like, well, we're Pokemon. I mean, look at our game sales. We made Sword and Shield, which were the worst games we ever created in terms of quality, and they sold 27 million units. We have nothing to worry about. I mean, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl sold 15 million units. We have absolutely nothing to worry about. And at a given point, if you want this franchise to continue to grow, to continue to reach new audiences, you're gonna have to actually market your titles. You can't just sit here and say nothing for an entire year and expect people to come in droves to buy your new release. That's just not gonna happen. I mean, yes, it's gonna sell like hotcakes. Yes, it's Pokemon. It's gonna sell well. But what I'm saying is, you can sell so much more if you actually tried. It feels like they're not trying with their marketing, and it's absolutely infuriating to me. How is it that you show us the starters for Winds and Waves, and potentially that is all we're gonna know about those games until 2027, an entire year? Does that not sound absurd to anyone else? Am I the only one who thinks that's crazy? Pokemon has always had a weird marketing cycle, announcing games in February on Pokemon Day, then not saying anything till May or June of the same year, but this is to a whole nother level. And again, I have to question, what are you guys doing? Anyways, let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Do you also think it's absurd if we don't get a trailer for Pokemon Winds and Waves until next year? And do you think that these leakers, these rumors are actually real? Do you think that we're actually not going to get a trailer till next year, or do you think there's no way? Because for me, I personally think there's no way, but at the same time, there's so many people corroborating this that I'd have to imagine that this is true, which if that's the case, what are you doing, Pokemon? If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from Trainer DC. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.